Well, hello there, race fans. We are back at it here again. Episode number 5 of the EKN Debrief podcast. My name is Rob Howden, joined by David Cole, the managing editor of ekartingnews.com. It is June 8th, 2017, and we're about set to go for another one of our debrief podcasts. A lot to talk about, a lot of racing to go over. We've got a great interview lined up as well, a new program, a new segment of the show. Of course, we'll wrap things up with the racing calendar to let you know where you can go racing here this particular weekend and then the weekends to come. Today's show is being presented by the Rawlison Performance Group. Rawlison Performance Group is a leader in the sport, providing trackside support, driver training and development, and arrive and drive programs for many series, including the SuperKarts USA Pro Tour and Pro Kart Challenge, the Challenge of the Americas, Florida Winter Tour, U.S. Rotax Grand Nationals and U.S. Open, the Can-Am Karting Challenge, and, of course, the SuperKarts USA Super Nationals. You can learn more about them at RawlisonPerformanceGroup.com or by stopping by the team tent at any major racing event in the country. David Cole, we're rolling. Episode number 5. We got this thing going now. I like it.
Five. I don't know. I'm just talking. Yeah, ready to go.
Nice to have a little break right now. We're looking at the schedule, and you've got a couple weekends off. I've got a couple weekends off before we get back at it, but never a dull moment. We're always working, always trying to get caught up, and just lots to do at EKN right now.
There's not enough time in the world to get caught up. There's so many things we want to do, and just not enough time in the day or the week or the month. So
that's about right. There's a lot of stuff on the to-do list, the wish list that we'd like to get rolling. I'm just happy we've got the podcast going now. I think it's a really good addition to the program. Of course, a lot of great feedback from people who have downloaded it, maybe downloaded the Podbean app as well, so they can listen while they're driving. It's been great. It's been some great feedback, and I think we're going to be able to do a lot with this podcast.
I think you just like talking more now instead of writing, even though you write well. I think you just like talking more.
Oh, I do appreciate that. It's true. It's a little easier, don't you think?
It can be, yeah. For those that are comfortable with talking, it's a lot easier. But for those who are just used to being behind the laptop and not really saying much, it's a work in progress.
Apparently, you're talking about yourself, David.
Yeah, I need a
pseudo introvert.
Yeah, I need a talking coach.
Dude, I think you do a pretty good job, to be honest with you. I know that you, anytime I throw the mic in your face, you kind of shy away from it at the racetrack, but you actually do a pretty good job. You're actually, you're not as dumb as you look, which is a good thing for us, I think.
Well, that's a great compliment there.
We do a lot of writing. There's been a lot of stuff up on eKarting News. David, I wrote that morning coffee article that got a lot of feedback in regards to just the reality of motorsports and just seeing some really good feedback, some comments from some parents coming on and talking about how they use motorsports to give their kids some discipline, something to focus on, and I think there's been a number of great comments where parents, setting their kids up to share a passion and focus on something and maybe not become race car drivers, but, end up in the sport, whether you're an engineer or in the PR department or marketing, whatever it may be. There's a lot of opportunities for people to stay in racing. And I was really happy that column got so much feedback, positive feedback at least, some negative, but for the most part, positive.
Well, it's just like after school sports. It's not so much the sport itself. It's more about teaching life lessons, and that's one of the things that my coaches when I was in school taught me was a lot of different life lessons. You got to overcome adversity. You got to want to succeed. Success doesn't come easy. You got to work for it. Just simple little things that you can learn through little life lessons through sports. And in karting, it's a little more expensive of a lesson to learn, but it's a different, unique path because it can lead you to different opportunities down the road as you grow older.
And David, look at us. We're not digging ditches. I've done that before in my life. I worked for my dad's construction company. When you're in motorsports and you have a job in motorsports, it's unique. It is a lot. It's a lot of work, but I think we can both say it's a heck of a lot of fun too. Great community, and it's fun to have something like this as our career.
Well, you're not going to get rich doing it.
No,
I mean, we all know that. But making a living, supporting your family, that's all anybody wants to do. And if you have the opportunity to do that in motorsports, why not?
I agree.
A lot of you see that's why you see a lot of these people with, very well off businesses want to come into karting just because of the passion they have for it. I mean, they would do it if it didn't. They do it because they don't do it to make money. They do it because they love it. And,
Very well said.
So you have to have that passion in order to do it, and in order to be successful, you have to work hard at it. And it's just like anything else.
You're right. I think you're bang on. Let's jump into the podcast now, and of course hit our news wire as David and I kind of talk about some of the top news that's rolling out. To be honest, it's been kind of a slow news week, David. We haven't had a lot to talk about. It hasn't been the onslaught of news that we often get coming in through the email at ekartingnews.com. One of the big things we saw today was Superkarts USA, this week, SCUSA confirming the dates for their winter series. So Superkarts USA indeed will be returning back to Florida, where they started off, I think back in 1999, I believe, was the first Superkarts USA Florida Winter Tour. It actually was a SCUSA series to start. With Joe Janowski down there. I think he was actually the race director of the first couple events. But then, of course, Bill Wright came through and started rolling on that, making it uber successful. But they've locked in for January 12th, 13th, and 14th, round number 1, and round number 2, February 9th, 10th, and 11th. The class is not yet confirmed, but we expect to probably be the same as the Pro Tour. Industry news as well, David, hitting Nitro Karts at a press release. Good to see Nick Tucker and his crew starting to develop. They are really doing some major stuff on track. They're winning races now with that Nitro Kart program and adding another dealer, CRP Racing in Ohio now. So they're up to 5 dealers for Nitro Kart, and really it's kind of a cool program. David, you've watched Nick develop as an industry guy. I watched him through his racing career, but really becoming one of the cool teams out there, focusing on that cadet program.
Well, that's the key, is focusing on the cadet program, because that's where a lot of these new racers are coming through, is the cadet level. We're not, at the national level, you're not getting, the 20-year-olds, the 26-year-olds. I mean, you might be getting the 45-year-old guys, which is great for Supermasters or Shifter Kart or Tag Master or something like that. But cadet level is where you hook, line, and sinker them. If you
get them on your product. Exactly right.
Well, just not necessarily get them on the product, but get them in the sport, and that's where a lot of the industry members are focusing on their cadet level. And Nick's been able to develop a brand and a product that's working very well. I mean, he knows his stuff. He's not the guy that's just come out and done this, but we're starting to see that more and more now with all the different brands is focusing on this cadet level area.
Agreed. And he's obviously doing a great job with driver training as well. One of the components of the whole Nitro Kart program is Nick actually working with these young kids, doing driver training, driver development, and it really has paid off. And we can see they're winning a lot of races now. You're seeing that Nitro Kart out front quite a bit.
Well,
to cap up, sorry, Dave, go.
I was just going to say that's a big part of finding success, is being able to work with these drivers and get them to develop their racecraft as quickly as possible. Some kids get it, some kids don't, and a lot of the kids that he has are attaching onto it really quickly.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And you're right, some kids take a little longer to come up to speed. Others kind of hook onto it real quickly and are able to find the success. Final news segment of the day here. More industry news. A release that OTK sent out, actually issuing a release that there's going to be a significant reduction in the price for their chassis and parts in the U.S. market. I think the dealers have got those price points so far. I don't think it's really got out to the public yet, but David, an interesting move by OTK to slash their prices. Again, we don't know how deeply yet, but a move to, I don't know, they got a lot of market share right now. It's not like they have to do it, but I think just to kind of maybe support the industry a little more and to try to make it a little more affordable for some drivers to be on OTK product.
Well, yeah, as you said, they have the market share pretty well off. They have a lot of dealers. They have a lot of customers. It's worldwide. It's one of the top brands there is. And so we'll see how this trickles down over the next few months for the dealers themselves, and see what kind of impact it has.
Yeah, exactly right. I think we'll be kind of stepping back and watching to see what impact indeed it does have on the market and on the community. It'll be interesting to see. That is our news. As I said, not a lot going on here this particular week on the EKN news desk, so that's what we have for you. We will now move into our racing recap. Of course, this particular debrief podcast brought to you by Rawlison Performance Group, and great to have you guys listening in. David, you had a chance to head back to the Pittsburgh International Race Complex. You did the WK Manufacturers Cup race a little while ago. USPKS, the United States Pro Kart Series this time around. Give us your review. How are things at Pitt this particular weekend?
I'm going to give you one guess. It rained.
Rain?
It happens every time. Talking to one of the corner workers there, they say, yeah, it rains here every day. It just, I mean, I don't think every day, but every event they have on the weekend, just 1 point throughout the weekend, it'll drop precipitation, and it's
the corner workers. The corner workers get their flags and rubber boots.
Yeah.
Head on out to your station.
That's the one thing I kept forgetting to bring was rubber boots.
Gotta get you hooked up. All right.
Yeah, we need a sponsor for that.
I'll sponsor you for some rubber boots, Dave.
Yeah,
I'll take care of you.
Evinco or Bridgestone or
Hey, that's a good
maybe.
idea.
Yeah. Goodyear. I think Goodyear has shoes, don't they?
They probably do. Yeah, they probably do. Get some Bridgestone rubber boots for you. I like it. All right.
Overall, the numbers were a bit down from what they're used to. I think this year we're kind of seeing a thing where people are not going to every race, but they're picking and choosing where they're going.
Interesting.
This is the 5th year of the USPKS series, and I'm talking about it. I'll talk about it more in my column that's coming out on Friday. But yeah, the numbers weren't quite what we're used to seeing. Although the KA100, with the program that they had developed to bring it in this year, I mean they had the highest numbers of the weekend. So that class was probably the most exciting racing we saw all weekend long, with solid field and very close racing, where you didn't see the pushback bumper deciding this or that. But Saturday was won by Brandon Jarzakrak. Money got out to a good lead and got able to get away as the rest of the field fought behind him. So anytime you can just get down and lay down consistent laps, it's always a good thing. And then Mike McAndrews was able to master the wet on the Fullerton. The Fullerton was able to get their first win at the USBKS with McAndrews on behind the wheel, and he had a great drive. Again, kind of just like Jarzakrak did, and was able to get out away. And get away from the field and just hit some consistent laps in the wet, which is as we all know, very hard to do.
Yeah, I read your report, Dave. A lot of guys, even up front, spinning off and having trouble. It sounded like it was pretty treacherous out there.
Well, rain conditions can be,
It's tough.
Just sometimes you want to lay down the gas a little bit too much. And for instance, Josh Holtz racing on the Merlin chassis, he spun twice and was able to land on the podium.
Wow.
Which just tells you how great his pace was in the wet. He just had a couple of moments there where just a little too much throttle input and spun the wheels around on him. But it was pretty exciting. We love wet weather racing, and
I love it.
Except for sitting out there in it. But
that's true.
It's great. It's great to watch. You just never know what's going to happen. And speaking of, I mean, it was the same thing in the Pro-Miami, where we saw Jacob Donald going away Sunday in the wet after winning Saturday, and Brandon Jarzakrak had an issue where the rain suit pant sucked into the airbox and was shutting the engine off as the race started. We all thought, oh, he's got a broken throttle. Oh, carburetor's not set right. No, it's just his airbox getting closed off and shutting the engine down.
Wow.
So he came back, fought Donald for the lead. He spun, and then on the last lap, Donald spun trying to push back out his pushback bumper.
What?
Because he had the feeling of he's going to get a 5-second penalty. Jarzakrak is too close, so he's trying to push it back out, which is very odd, because I would have thought he would have just laid down a couple of laps and got away. He might have just, second or third, but he said, hey, checkers or wreckers, baby. So...
Hey, if somebody, in my opinion, you get caught trying to push it back out, that's going to be a DQ.
That's exactly what the USBKS staff did. They were right on the spot. Told them right at the scales you were disqualified for trying to adjust your bumper while on the track, and it's straight in their rule book.
It should be.
But it was a pretty interesting. So Jarzakrak ended up spinning, or going from last to first to spinning to winning, all in the same race. And so it was a pretty interesting weekend for him. Another key note was the lack of Yamaha drivers there. As I was talking about Pro-Miami, Pro-Miami had its lowest field ever of just 9 drivers.
Oh man!
After averaging probably over 30 drivers for the first 4 years. Now we have an issue where Yamaha drivers. There's only 4 there this weekend. And again, that's where I get to the point of people are picking and choosing. People aren't doing everything out there to go race. They're kind of picking and choosing.
We've talked about it, David. There's just so much racing going on right now. You can race every weekend, and people aren't going to run every weekend, like you said. It's interesting. It's coming to a head potentially. It's interesting to hear that. That's
well,
tough.
because on the flip side, at the WKA race, they actually had better Pro IME and Yamaha Junior drivers numbers. So it's kind of a mixture. USPKS had the momentum with the KA 100, and of course they're pulling in the numbers with mini and micro as well as WKA. So that was the big difference between the two numbers. But I'm working on another article to kind of look at the numbers, just the numbers, and see what can we do to get this better.
Yeah, I hear you.
But other than that, strong IME junior field. Tyler Gonzalez came up, added another win to his CV. He's won at WK, USBKS, Super Nationals, Pro
He's
Tour.
A shoot. He's impressive, no doubt about it.
Mike Speed said it last year. He's probably one of the top drivers he's ever seen, and he's had Scott Speed and Alex Speed as his own children. So that's good company to be part of. But also in that category, Max Kowalski was able to score his first series win aboard the Merlin. So he's another Merlin driver making his way up through the ranks. I mean, we see that year in and year out.
No kidding, right?
Rocky family just bringing in more drivers in, just pulling them up and developing them.
What a driver factory. No doubt about it, right? We'd seen that in the past, like Italian Motors. I used to always call them the driver factory, kicking out guys like Jordi Vorath and David Yurka and so many great guys from them. But, man, you look at the list of people that have come from Franklin Motorsports on that Merlin team, and, unbelievable. The Lemkes and Kalish and Bertignoli, and just there's so many guys that have come through who have been so good in that program. Yeah,
and like you said, it's a factory. They just, they're being in the Midwest and being as popular as they are, where they at. Badger is a great home track, so they have a great pool to pull from. Yeah. It's kind of like college, where you in certain areas of sports, you're going to be able to excel well. Well, the Franklin Merlin combination does well in the Great Lakes area, that's for sure.
No doubt about it, man.
So to wrap that weekend up, the first IAME International Final ticket was handed out. The weekend winner for the USBKS event at Pittsburgh was given a entry, not a full ticket, but an entry into the capped out mini category, and Brent Cruz was able to score both wins actually on the weekend and enough points to take him to Le Mans, France. So he is one of the first drivers to be part of that program if he does in fact take the ticket. So
listen, we have a couple more events we're going to look at here in the racing recap, both the California Pro Kart Challenge event at Cal Speed, and I'm going to chat a little bit about the race they had at the Puget Sound Road Race Association this past weekend. But David, before we jump into that, this was your first opportunity to see the pushback bumper program in action. Now that you've kind of we've been home for a couple of days, what are your thoughts on it? I saw it at the Can-Am Karting Challenge, and the starts were amazing. What are your thoughts seeing it for the first time now?
I think we're going to learn more about it when we see bigger classes.
Yeah.
The KA 100 class was the biggest class with 23 drivers. But to be honest, overall, throughout the weekend, the Turn 1, Turn 2 incidents were cut down very limited. A little side-by-side contact, which is what we prefer. Yeah,
I love that.
Prefer that a lot better than we do guys slamming into the back of each other. But again, we see that more when we have carts of 40 rather than carts of 20 or 15 or 10 of guys from row 15 just piling in, not caring and pushing his way through to gain 10 or 12 positions in the first corner. So, I mean, the concept for that part of it works. There were a few penalties. I don't have the numbers exactly yet on how many penalties were given out, but there were penalties giving out 5 second here, 10 second there. Overall, it's a good addition, as long as it's policed right. It's
a work in progress. I keep saying that, right?
One of the main things is the mounting structure. Making sure it's staying stock. People aren't making adjustments to it, so it's an added element of tech for the tech officials, which we already know they're already overworked and underpaid as it is.
True.
So thankfully, a lot of our tech guys are long-term cheaters, or not technically cheaters, but guys who stretch the rules to the limits.
Wow.
So they get a product, they look at it, they figure out things they can do to it, they learn from certain situations, and again, this is only their third time with it, and counting the Route 66. So I think, again, like you said, it's a work in progress. So right now, I think it has a positive grade. They've kind of taken away the element, like the video. They're now allowing video to review certain contacts. So if indeed it was pushed back
for the pushback,
if it was pushed back in a non-racing incident, they'll be able to review it. At least that's what they changed for this weekend.
Yeah, I like the fact they're trying. It's about customer service as well. We're trying to fix the racecraft, the lack thereof on track. It's just been crazy. So the only reason we're doing this is because drivers don't respect each other. When it comes down to it, it's the driver's fault that we have to do this. The crazy racing, the ridiculous lack of respect is why we're bringing this thing out.
Right.
And now it's put in the hands of the promoters and the series staff to figure out how to do it so that there's still the customer service level. And I like what they're doing. I like the idea of bringing the video in just in case it's something like somebody wrecks in front of you and you hit them. You shouldn't. Personally, I would rather not see somebody get a 10-second penalty. But I understand SCUSA right now, who's going to be testing it, is saying, just right now out of the box, it's a straight 10-second penalty. And that's good. Do that just to try it out. But I like what USPKS is doing, having that video to try to, if you want to protest one, I like that.
Yeah, again, we could just remove the bumpers, period.
Let's do that.
But again, people, the parents are concerned with safety.
Yeah, we'd have a lot of flips. We would, until people realized that you couldn't do it. And back in the day, that's how you and I raced, Dave. We didn't have front and rear bumpers. We had pods, but no front and rear bumpers. So even when I first started, I didn't even have pods when I first started. So, all right, let's get back into the racing recap, Dave. I'll jump in here now with the Puget Sound Road Race Association, and you can wrap it up with the California Pro Kart Challenge. Some great stuff happening up in the Pacific Northwest. In fact, just West Coast in general for the road racing community. The guys at the Puget Sound Road Race Association putting on their first race of the year out at the Ridge Motorsports Park. Beautiful facility, 16 turns, 2.47 miles, 300 feet of elevation change. Just an absolutely incredible facility, and it really is kind of rejuvenating road racing up in the Pacific Northwest. They had 189 entries, 50 more than last year's IKF Road Race Grand Nationals, and you got to give it up to the effort being put in by Aaron Stanford, his wife Lisa, and his daughter Brittany, who really are the lifeblood of that club. They worked their tails off to try to get this club to grow and to try to get more people to come out to racing. They're going to be hosting the IKF Road Race Grand Nationals on August the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. They're aiming for 250 entries. As I said, 189 here. You get more guys coming up from California. I heard Johnny West may be rolling out with the supercart. There's going to be some guys coming from potentially the East Coast. I heard a rumor that maybe the Musgraves might be coming up to do some 125 racing. If they can hit 250, I think that'll be massive. But 189 for this past weekend. These guys, David, know how to do it. They're making it an event. You're going to come out and you're going to have fun. They raced, of course. They practiced on Friday. They race on Saturday. Just a single-day race. They had an endurance race with the rental kart fleet at the kart track that is at the facility. They actually have a full replica of the big track, only 0.6 of a mile. It's called Olympic Grand Prix. They have the Sodi Kart GT5 rental karts, the 9-horsepower karts. They did an endurance race. I think they had 8 teams jump in for the enduro after the event. Big potluck barbecue as well. These guys really know how to get it done, and I love what they're doing, how much effort they put in, and to see them get almost 200 entries, kind of a revival for road racing. It's exciting. 17 drivers in their super stock CR125 heavy category. Jacob DeLaverain was the winner in that class. Chris Hager, the veteran, was a winner in super stock light. They had 17 in the heavy class for Briggs World Formula as well, David. They got a pretty solid little four-cycle class going there. 17 in heavy, 18 in medium. Corey Markham won in the heavy class, and Donnie Hombo was able to get a win as well. Don, as a name, has been around forever. He won, I believe, he might have won the heavy class, I'm not sure, but nonetheless, David, good numbers for road racing in the Pacific Northwest, and I know you and your family, long-time road racers, that's got to put a little smile on your face to see them have numbers like they do.
I think you're getting it all along the West Coast with the Northern California karters getting their numbers up.
Yeah, Thunder Hill, yep.
Thunder Hill, the Sonoma, they have every Thanksgiving.
Yep.
It's that type of area, the Pacific Northwest and Northern California. They're able to work together, so I think that's helping the numbers grow. Because before everybody was kind of on their own, but now I think they're working together. Hey, you guys come up here. Okay, we'll go back down there for this, and they're kind of working that. And then also, you're getting to see a lot more people who are just tired of the grind at sprint track racing. Especially your 40 and above drivers. That can go out and go road racing for, race either a half hour or 2 half-hour races, and be able to feel good and not be beat up or just over exhausted from changing tires and changing axles and changing this and that. Just go out and have a good time, and that's the part of road racing, that aspect that people are gravitating to.
We have an article actually from a young driver who runs for Italian Motors. He went out and ran for his first time at the Ridge with the event. Actually had a great run. Actually ended up winning the race. But we'll have that up on ekartingnews.com next week. It's a great driver diary for someone who had never been there before and absolutely loved it. And I think you're right, David. It's more relaxed. You're not thrashing back and forth trying to get out for this session, this heat race, this pre-final. When you're on, cart's ready, you can hang out, really enjoy the speed of running on a big track. You've done it all your life. I've done it on a number of occasions. I loved running my 125 at Mid-Ohio. It's just a ton of fun, and I think that more people, if they get a chance to go out to road races, are going to go to more. And I think that's something that's going to help maybe revigorate the program if we just get some more people to go out and try it, because it's just a ton of fun, and like you said, a lot less stress than thrashing it out at a sprint track. David, let's cap off this edition of the Racing Recap, but with a look at the California Pro Kart Challenge, arguably the biggest regional program in North America right now.
Yeah, they were able to last weekend return back to Cal Speed for the first time since 2010. They pulled out about over 170 entries for the weekend, which is almost, in terms of drivers, the same amount. You have a few guys doing a couple classes here and there. But it was dominated by a lot of the Los Angeles Karting Championship drivers that were in attendance, winning 9 of the 11 classes there this weekend. So one of the ones that wasn't an LAKC winner was a Michael Avancino from the NorCal region. He was able to score a big victory, his first in the X30 senior division.
That's pretty impressive considering the quality of the drivers in that field.
Well, we saw him up at the front in Sonoma for the spring nats until contact took him out, and then he just was never able to get himself back up into the front of the pack the rest of the weekend. So we know he had the speed, and this weekend he was able to capitalize on being quick down there in Cal Speed. But a guy who's always quick at Cal Speed is Billy Musgrave. I mean, the guy's got tons and tons and tons of laps on there. He actually won an S2 race back in 2010. That was one of his second years maybe of karting.
Yeah.
Won the California Pro Kart Challenge S2 race there aboard a CRG with 2 wild stickers on it. So I sent him that image last week, so he had a good throwback Thursday image
nice.
For him. But no, he dominated again on the Aluminos chassis, winning his 3rd straight in S1 for the program. So he's the guy to beat out there right now on the West Coast. I just don't see anybody doing it. Hunter Piggott almost had him in qualifying, but just couldn't keep up with the race pace. So very exciting time for him. But one of the greatest finishes of the weekend was in the Micro Swift category, where we were able to watch a video for Dane Idelson, a second-generation driver, getting a last lap, last corner pass, going from 3rd to 1st right there and taking the checkered flag for his first series victory.
Yeah, I watched that whole video. That was fantastic. He just sat there in 3rd and kind of was biding his time, trying to figure out where he kind of looked to try to make a pass coming up the straightaway, but kind of hung back. 2 drivers in front of him, pass in the final little corner. They pushed wide, and he just went outside, inside, and was able to get the win. That showed a lot of patience. Really big win for Dane, and I know his dad Howie probably pretty excited over that one.
Yeah, patience is something that kids are very hard to accept, and you watch the video. He was just sitting right there, didn't quite have the opportunity to jump into the lead, so he took his time and was able to capitalize on the last lap.
Yeah, nicely done. Well, there it is, folks. That's our racing recap. Couple of events, giving you some insights on what's happening around the country here. Let's move into a new one, Dave. We got a new segment that we're going to be adding here. We're going to start doing some interviews, talking to some of the people in the sports. Brand new addition to the Debrief. This particular kickoff segment, I had a chance to sit down and chat with Sean Bailiff from the Trinity Karting Group for our first ever one-on-one here on the podcast. I've been really intrigued watching this Trinity Karting Group kind of develop. They had their program. They run regularly at Newcastle in the KRA program. But they've kind of been stepping things up a little bit, moving into other programs like the Manufacturers Cup. They ran the Winter Nationals down at the Superkarts USA Pro Tour at NOLA. They're going to be at the Summer Nationals. They're going to go to the Super Nats this year. And I had a really good opportunity to sit and talk to Sean about what they're doing, their whole program, and it really was a really fantastic interview. Here it is, our first ever one-on-one with Sean Bailiff from the Trinity Karting Group. Sean, great to have you with us here on the EKN Debrief podcast. Big year for you guys. You look across the regional and national platform from coast to coast, and there's major teams that have been around for a number of years. The PSLs, the Team Top Karts, the Franklins that you've seen for a number of years. You guys are kind of new. You guys are coming to play. And again, a big year for you guys. You've stepped up to support a number of different programs. WK Manufacturers Cup, of course, the Superkarts USA Pro Tour. We're going to see you at the Summer Nationals. We'll see you at the Super Nationals. And you also run regularly at Newcastle Motorsports Park. Not only that, you come up and run all these programs this year with a full program, but you also roll out the Burrell chassis line here in 2017. Let's start by talking about how much of an evolution, how much of a growth spurt it's been for Team TKG.
Thanks, Rob, for having us. Yeah, it's been an absolutely exciting year, starting at Daytona for sure. We had a great showing there for our, I guess I'd say our debut of national racing for sure. We did some Rock Cup last year, but a little different stage for sure. But the evolution for us has been incredible since I got back into karting. I'm trying to think about 6-7 years ago now. It's just been just kind of a whirlwind, of course. And then once you start it, taking on the top levels of the AJ Myers and the Ryan Norbergs and those guys, it's a whole different deal since, they've been in it like my kids have, since, early age. They get all the, the best stuff and the best tuners, and it's definitely not for the faint of heart for sure.
With the work you guys do at the Motorsports Country Club in Cincinnati, different driver base, different customer base. You're bringing some new people to the programs, whether it's young kids that you're bringing into your driver development program or some of the older Masters drivers who want to go racing again but want to do it at a higher level with you. Has that been kind of the big step for you guys? Or maybe let's say the initial hurdle is coming in and trying to go at it with really the established teams, and as you mentioned, the established drivers, guys that have been around for a long time. You're a new team coming to take on the Lions that have been around for a number of years.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic for us for sure because, we don't chase every single national tour out there. If I'm away every single weekend, I wouldn't have the job here at Motorsports Country Club. So, and then that would cause difficulties, if we're doing all that different, type of racing every weekend, and then my face isn't present here. It doesn't work for both avenues for Trinity Karting Group and Motorsports Country Club. We have a fantastic relationship with the owners here at Motorsports Country Club, and it does give us a nice base. Originally, it was for us 40s and up, but now we're starting to build the younger kid programs, but also give the avenue for the dads to get some laps out here at Motorsports Country Club, fill their kind of need, and then see their kids grow into the kart racing side of things too. So it's a ton of fun, and we're unrolling some stuff here in July at Motorsports Country Club for kart camp in our Remo fleet, and then hopefully that'll bring new kids into karting from the Cincinnati area.
Sean, we've talked about it and written about it on eKarting News, but why don't you just take a couple of maybe a minute here, just to give us an overview of what's going on down at the Motorsports Country Club, it's a really interesting program. We see car country clubs all over the country, different private racetracks, country club kind of things. You guys have a straight go-kart karting country club in Cincinnati.
Absolutely. It's a private karting track. The track's really unique. It's got a big bank, which actually I would like to see taken down, but it's a beautiful facility. It is private. We do a ton of driver coaching out here and driver development. That's a nice thing that we can control, who's on the track, who isn't. We do a lot of interesting things from track record attempts, but we do just a lot of private coaching for every age. I think we got 4.5-year-olds up to 75-year-olds. So everyone gets to check it out and get on the track and have a controlled atmosphere that's very safe. And you can get in and out of the hot air and get into the air conditioning and watch stuff on the monitors and such. So it's a really unique place, and it's a ton of fun. And, we're starting to get recognized and develop some drivers out of here.
Yeah, that really does kind of present the synchronicity, doesn't it? The drivers you have within the program at the country club, really that seems to me like the core culture of what you guys do with Team TKG when you're going to Manufacturers Cup or you're running some rock events or you're doing Superkarts USA, is really the core focus is kind of training drivers and bringing maybe the younger guys, the rookie masters even drivers into the program, as opposed to grabbing some of the top drivers and at least at this point in the team, grabbing top drivers to try to win championships. Really, I guess a successful weekend for you guys would be coming away with people that are happy and people that develop their talent and maybe took a step forward in their skill set.
Well, for sure, because, seeing some of the drivers like we have Logan Mueller and Ayrton Kazee that are starting to come up to the national ranks, it's pretty neat seeing their evolution to where they couldn't keep it on the track to now where they're mid-pack in the national level. And, they get over to Newcastle and they're going to be surprising some people with, how well running every weekend. I remember when I was racing nationally and we ran the whole tour, I think the schedule was like 16 races, and you used to come into these tracks and get your butt kicked by the local guys. You don't see that so much anymore, but we might have the chance to do that with Trendy Karting over at Newcastle.
I'm sure you guys would be excited to get to a home track and take it to the national guys. One of the things I think is interesting, and I've said this to so many teams, I do a lot of work, of course, in the Mazda Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires, and it's to have that connection with karting through to the development level and, of course, obviously the Verizon IndyCar Series. I wrote a column in Morning Coffee that talks about the fact that the reality of trying to get there is so tough. But if you are in the position to try to do that and you have the financial wherewithal to do it, there needs to be people to help you get there. And because it is a reality, it's part of karting. Some people are going to stay in karting forever and enjoy it and absolutely love it. And other people, it's a training ground to try to go up the ranks. And if a career is indeed in their mind, that's something they can look at. Now, you guys have gone ahead and done it and put together a true relationship with Team Pelfrey, which is a very solid organization. Of course, they're all the way up the ranks. They're F1600, they're USF 2000, they're Pro Mazda, and they're even in Indy Lights as well. Talk a little bit about the program you guys have put together with Team Pelfrey and some of the drivers who have actually started with you guys at Trinity and are now working their way into Formula 1600.
Yeah, Dale Pelfrey and I have talked about this for years. Dale was, I guess, the first driver development he had was me a long time ago. But Dale's been fantastic with it. But actually, Johnny Baker and I sat down this winter and came up with this. He wanted some, connection into the karting ranks, and we also wanted a place to be able to put some of our drivers that want to go to those next ranks, like you say. But yeah. David Osborne's our first driver that's made the jump into the 1600, and I tell you, he's done fantastic. The results might not show up, but he's been up front in the 1600 cars, and they're getting ready for the weekend over at Indianapolis this weekend, and I wouldn't be surprised if he wouldn't get his first win. But Jeff Busher and his wife Jessica are doing a great job of promoting the karting side for us. They're going to be putting one of our karts on display for the next 4 races. It does make it easier because, as you know, karting in itself can be very confusing. They're getting a lot of people at these racetracks wanting to know how their kids can do this. And, of course, karting is the first step for the road to Indy or F1 or whatever it may be. And we're trying to make it a little easier. They're trying to help feed people into karting that ultimately hopefully that moves them up their ladder system. So we definitely have a top to bottom approach or bottom to top approach getting these kids into it. The one thing they liked about our program is we're teaching our drivers the right way to do it, from the PR side of things, how to present themselves, how important it is. We have a code of conduct that all of our drivers sign, so you're not going to see our drivers getting out of their carts at the scales and screaming and yelling at stuff. Sometimes that happens at, some of these events. And, we don't want that, that moving on to the next level. And David's been a great representative of Trinity Karting Group, and he's bought into the ladder system as well. And it's a lot of fun seeing it come to fruition for us. And hopefully that'll lead to, of course, this is a business. Hopefully it leads us to moving more drivers that direction and being a mutually benefiting relationship for not only us and Team Pelfrey, but the karting community as well.
Sean, I think it's the beauty of it, and the key is it's a two-way street. And when we go to races, these Mazda Road Indy races or the F1600 races, there's all these kids that have worked their way up the ranks, and I talk about it on the PA system, and we promote the fact that these kids came from karting, but there's no place for fans to see that. And for Team Pelfrey and your drivers, your ex-drivers, the guys that have moved on, to have a karting display from Trinity at the Team Pelfrey paddock, I think that's amazing. And that's the kind of, let's say, out of the box thinking in terms of promotion for karting that we need. And I give you a thumbs up for that. I love the way this program's put together. And again, if you're going to have 1, 2, 3 drivers coming into the Team Pelfrey ladder system, it's cool to be able to know that we're going to have some promotion to get guys coming around the other side. And I know Johnny Baker very well, and I know he's a big supporter of kart racing here in North America. So I love that. That's a fantastic program.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to the next couple of years with this, and hopefully we can get some guys up to the Indy 500 ranks from TKG.
I like that. Okay, let's cap this off. Let's talk about the second half of the season for the team. You've got the WK Manufacturers Cup race at Newcastle coming up in July. And in fact, we were talking about home track advantage, or at least the home track knowledge. You got race in July, WK Manufacturers Cup, and of course you got the Superkarts USA Summer Nationals at Newcastle in August. There's a couple of opportunities for your guys to get out there and really go at it on a track they know.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Newcastle is like a dirt track in a sense. And when I say that, it's ever changing, from morning to afternoon, the setups just change tremendously. So it's going to be, I guess, a decent advantage that our drivers will be, have knowledge of that. Our tuners will have a little bit of a knowledge. We'll be at a little disadvantage. And that's one of the struggles we've had all year, is when we go to these nationals that we're not on the same tire that we're always racing. So we're a little bit guessing on that, but we're going to start testing both the Invencos and the YLM tires here a little more aggressively moving into it, now that we're getting some stable weather and the tracks kind of start to rubber up and we get a little better idea. And then you mentioned, earlier in this that we've switched the Brel, so the tuning's a little bit different for those. We're starting to add more and more of those. Dominic and Stefan there have just been unbelievably supportive of us. At the pit race we had a hotline to Dominic and his guys, and it was kind of fun because they were having the same issues up at the Canadian Nationals that we were having at pit. So we were sharing information back and forth, saying, okay, you're doing this, I'll try that. And on the phone, Dominic and I were doing some shared tuning setup. So those guys are dedicated to really making their brand grow, and I saw that and wanted to jump on board. So we're really looking forward to those races coming up, and then the Dousman race, and seeing how we can do there at GoPro at the Grand Nationals.
Well, you know what? Sounds like you got a great season lined up for the guys at Team TKG. Sean, before I say goodbye and shut it off here, if people want to get a hold of you, if they want to learn more about Trinity Karting Group, give us the lines, just as Facebook, Twitter, the website URL. Just give them the ways that they can connect with you guys to see what you're doing.
Absolutely. We're, our website's trinitykartinggroup.com, and then our Instagram and Twitter and Facebook is Trinity Karting. You can also reach me personally on my mobile at 513-767-4463. Just call me direct. I'm really easy to get a hold of. And the other thing that I'd like to offer up, if you're in the Cincinnati area and have no clue about karting, just stop in. We'll put you in a go-kart and let you see what it is. We've got karts from kid karts all the way up to, KZ shifters. So we can show you around, show you what karting's all about really easy.
Sounds like a pretty solid offer. Sean, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us here on the debrief, and we look forward to seeing you at a track in just a couple weeks' time.
Yeah, it's awesome that you and David really promote the sport like you do, and thanks for having us on.
My pleasure. Be well. David, talking to a guy like Sean, he's been around so long. Here's a guy that was on track at the old Elkhart Grand Prix. Here's a guy that tried to work his way through sprint cars, to almost got into the Indy 500 as well. A guy that was able to work his way through the ranks, just knows so much about the sport. He and his wife as well. They did the marketing, they did the PR, and what he's bringing to all his drivers in his program. I'm really impressed. I think we're going to see a lot from Sean and his family, and of course Trinity Karting Group as well in the future.
Yeah, just the ability to take a guy brand new and develop him all the way through the ranks, and then if he even wants to try, team up with the Team Pelfrey and take him into cars. It's a great system that he has developed, and being able to have your own track, to be able to consistently test. He talked about how they need to do more and more testing this summer now. With the different tire compounds that they keep racing on. That's a great positive to have, but everything they do is definitely top level, very professional, very clean. I mean, they look the part and they also play the part, so it's very cool to see.
I agree. Well said. And I love what they're doing to try to, with this Team Pelfrey program, graduating their drivers through to the Mazda Road to Indy, whatever it may be, but also to be able to have that kart, as he said, at races. We're promoting karting to the people that the fans that are at the racetrack. They're pre-qualified as racing fans. Great opportunity to potentially bring some people into karting. So it was a great opportunity to chat with Sean, and we'll do more one-on-ones here on the debrief throughout the year. Let's now move into the racing calendar, brought to you this particular week by TB Kart USA. David, things calming down a little bit. This weekend, the Texas Pro Kart Challenge, getting things going at Gulf Coast Kartway in Katy, Texas. The 206 Cup back at it again at 61 Kartway. And Kart Mars, the Mid-America Road Racing Association at Lake Garnett, Kansas. That should be an exciting weekend for all the drivers from Kart.
Yeah, definitely. That place is wild, crazy. We talked about it last week. But, yeah, Texas Pro Kart being this weekend, there's a lot of guys going down there, racing down at the old Katy track down there outside Houston. And then also the 61 Kartway for 206. That should get a number of people from the St. Louis area probably up there to the 61 Kartway.
Let's move now to Father's Day weekend, June 16, 17, 18. Big Vintage Karting Association event down at Newcastle Motorsports Park. I love seeing photos of all the karts that are down there. There's some beautiful karts that have been rebuilt. And we talk about racing without pods, without bodywork. That's what those guys do. These vintage guys get out there and go racing. I've actually got a kart that's kind of getting built right now. Mike Birdsell's building me up a Margay Expert 2. I was trying to get down to that event. I don't think I'll be able to, but it should be a big one at Newcastle.
And I've gotten word that there might be a big-name driver there.
Ooh,
so
really?
We'll have to see if it happens, but I was told that he might be there.
So you're not gonna lay it out, but
yeah,
all right. It's
confirm.
a teaser. I like it.
Yeah. Well, once
cannot confirm nor deny.
Exactly.
All right. Also, at Mid-Ohio, the AKRA National Road Race Series is going to be running at Mid-Ohio. The LAKC, as David mentioned, the Los Angeles Karting Championship back at it at Cal Speed. That's the June 16, 17, 18 weekend. Rock Cup USA, the Midwest Series, getting rolling at the newly repaved Oakland Valley Raceway Park up in Cuddybackville, New York. David, I had a chance to talk to Tim Hannon just recently. Brand new pavement around that racetrack, 30 feet wide, CIK 30 feet wide in the straightaway, 26 feet everywhere else. I like what Tim's doing. They're doing a lot of great stuff with OVRP, and we're going to get him on the debrief pretty soon. I'm going to do an article on what they've got going up there because Tim just lost his father recently. Of course, one of the key components of Tim's life and that racetrack. A fantastic driver coach, but he's reinvigorated, making things happen at Oakland Valley, and we'll have a good talk with Tim out down the road.
Yeah, certainly facility upgrades definitely will help bring in some new people because we know that track has developed a lot of different people. Sage Karam,
yeah, no kidding.
Santino Ferrucci are two among the many that were there years before that. It was a great little stomping ground, and being it where it's located, it definitely has opportunity to just to explode.
Agreed.
If done right, and with the repaving, it'll definitely help.
I agree. Wrapping things up for Father's Day weekend, the Route 66 Sprint Series, another one of the major regional programs going on right now. Great numbers always of the Route 66 Sprint Series. They'll be at MRP in South Bend, Indiana. So a lot of great racing. A couple races in Indiana, Vintage and Route 66. They're road racing at Mid-Ohio. They're out at Cal Speed. They're up with the Rock Cup USA Midwest Series. A lot of great racing going on Father's Day weekend. Do want to thank TB Kart USA for presenting this weekend's racing calendar. Of course, TB Kart is definitely making their presence known right now in American karting. Seeing a lot of those TB Karts up front. Check them out online at tbkartusa.com. David, let's wrap this thing up, my friend. Any other thoughts here, or are we just ready for a relaxed weekend home with the family?
Define relaxed.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things to do on the list. So
I don't have any kids, and I don't have any grass to mow, so I will have a relaxed weekend. I'm probably going to watch the IndyCar race from Texas on Saturday nights. But yeah,
yes,
you probably have a pretty good to-do list right now, don't you?
Yeah, I was going to do it today during lunch, but we decided to do the debrief. So work comes first, baby.
You know what? I appreciate the passion and the dedication you have for this, David.
That's what we do here at ekartingnews.com.
That's how we roll.
That's right.
Well, David, thank you so much again. Great one. Again, do want to thank Sean Bailiff for coming in and being one of our interviews. Actually, our very first one-on-one interview. Sean Bailiff from the Trinity Karting Group. Great chatting with him. And again, big thanks to our sponsors, Rollison Performance Group and TB Kart USA. This has been episode number 5 of the EKN Debrief, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you enjoyed it. We'd love some input. If you'd like to hear somebody, you wanted somebody we should interview, give us some feedback. Send us an email. Jump on the Facebook when we post this up. Get into the commentary section. Let us know. Let us know what you want to hear. We've got a couple of new ideas for other podcasts we're going to do. We're going to be rolling out another one of our hot seat podcasts pretty soon. But again, just kind of developing this. And just as with the pushback bumper system, this is a work in progress. David, thank you very much again, my friend. Great to have everybody listening. We'll do it again soon. Come on back. We'll have another EKN Debrief next week here on ekartingnews.com.